So hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about some of the methods of persuasion. Specifically, we're going to be talking about ethos, pathos, and the use of evidence. We will tackle logos in our next lecture. Now, Aristotle established three pillars of persuasion: ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, ethos is the credibility of your argument, the credibility of the persuasive case that you're making. Pathos is the emotional content. What emotional investment can you get out of your audience? And logic, or logos, is the reasoning or argumentation. In this particular lesson, we're going to be talking about the ethos and the pathos. We're also going to be talking about the use of evidence. Now, the use of evidence links our credibility, our ethos, to our logic, our logos. So, let's first tackle ethos. Now, ethos, your credibility, is linked to your expertise and your trustworthiness. In particular, your audience must see you as a credible source for your argument. Are you competent? Do they see you as someone with the requisite knowledge and expertise on this particular subject? You need to communicate to your audience why they should listen to you. Also, what is your character? Are you sincere? Are you trustworthy? All of these things need to be communicated in your persuasion. If your audience doesn't see you as trustworthy, if they don't feel that you have a strong character and that you have their best interests at heart, then they won't listen to you. Now, your credibility is dynamic. It can change during your speech. Your initial credibility is going to be strengthened or weakened in your behavior during your talk. Everyone has a sort of a beginning credibility when they speak based upon their reputation and their previous interactions. You can either whittle away at that credibility or improve that credibility with your talk. Now, you can strengthen your initial credibility by explaining your competence for this particular topic. How are you the expert here? You can also establish common ground with your audience. Respect them as listeners. Look at their point of view and establish and connect with their values, attitudes, and their experiences. Also, your credibility is enhanced by delivering your speech fluently, expressively, and with conviction. Show the audience that you are confident in what you're talking about. Now let's talk a little bit about pathos. Pathos is emotion. Now, there are a lot of different emotions that you can evoke in a speech. Some of them are positive and some of them are negative. And it's not necessarily bad to evoke a negative emotion in a speech, because emotion is an incredible motivator for someone to be persuaded. So, you need to strike some sort of chord that appeals to the emotion of your audience. Some examples of emotions that you could tap into are fear. Maybe it's a fear of a serious illness or a natural disaster or a sexual assault or some sort of personal rejection or economic hardship. Any of those things will motivate people to listen to you. Perhaps the emotion you want to tap into is compassion. Maybe it's compassion for refugees or for battered women or for neglected animals. Maybe you're trying to stir up compassion for starving children or victims of some sort of brutal disease like cancer. How about guilt? You could elicit guilt emotions. Maybe guilt about helping the less fortunate, or about conserving the planet, or about not doing your best. You can also solicit pride in your audience. Maybe you want to get them excited about their pride in their country or in their family, or maybe pride in their school or in their ethnic heritage or some sort of personal accomplishment. Pride gets people really excited about a topic sometimes. You could evoke anger in your audience. Maybe you want them to be angry about terrorism or the Wall Street and what they did to the public. Maybe you want them angry at politicians, or maybe you want them angry at slumlords in a tenement building, that sort of thing. And finally, the last emotion that I've got illustrated here is reverence. You might want to tap into an audience's reverence toward or an admired person or to some sort of tradition or an institution. Maybe you want them to see and tap into their reverence for a higher power. Anything that will stir up emotion and get them emotionally invested in your argument is good. Now, you can generate emotions through emotional language. There's a lot of different words you can use to evoke emotions. You can also use vivid examples and imagery. A great story, a great anecdote can certainly stir up emotion. You can speak sincerely and with conviction. That always helps with the emotional tenet of the speech. Now, the thing is, you shouldn't play fast and loose with someone's emotions. There is an ethical consequence to trying to get people emotionally connected to a particular topic. You can abuse the tactic of emotion. Make sure that the emotions that you evoke are appropriate for your topic and appropriate for your audience. The emotional appeal cannot replace evidence and reasoning. You can't get people so excited and so emotional about it, they don't listen to reason and they don't consider the evidence. Now, let's talk a little bit about evidence. When you are presenting evidence in your speech, and you must present evidence in your speech, that evidence needs to be specific. For example, instead of saying it costs a lot of money, you can say it costs $200 billion. The evidence needs to be novel. You need to dig down and find facts that will surprise your audience and tell them something they don't already know. Your evidence needs to be credible. You know, we've already discussed good sourcing and what that looks like, so make sure that you always use credible sources. And finally, make sure that your evidence is applicable. Make sure that it clearly points towards some argument in your speech. Your listeners need to understand why you're sharing this particular piece of information. So, that's about it for today. I hope that you understood everything, and if you have questions, we'll talk about it in class. Thanks.